The Chosen Four's new robot bodies are revealed to be far less than glamorous, the only surviving identity of any of them being the protagonist's red and blue cap. We'll talk more about this later. The past is gray and drab, almost formless like clay, conveying the sense that this is far, far in the past. This greatly contrasts the cave of the present, which had warm and cool colors, and acts as a direct comparison for the player to make. This, as well as the brassy music of the cave of the present, which emulated an almost orchestral sound. The music here is stark and stylized to sound like alien synthesized sounds, echoing in the distance, but being swallowed by the empty space. It notably samples Deirdre by the Beach Boys, which ironically in large contrast is a love song, which we'll refer back to later as well. With the absence of a clear melody, attention is drawn to the party's walking, which makes a loud, heavy, metallic sound, which emphasizes the isolation that the characters are facing. The metallic alien growth just north is the same as the one from the Cave of the Present, and shows that Giygas has been coordinating this invasion for as long as time itself. Likewise is also probably why the Mani Mani statue was discovered by Liar Exaggerate underground. Giygas had planted it in the past, attempting to expedite the process by letting humans attempt to destroy themselves. The party can heal and save for free at the Phase Distorter, and since this is a point of no return, allows for the player to do any last minute grinding they might need to before the final confrontation. As with the protagonist's massive boost from Magicant, many of these fights can be brute forced if need be. Some might argue it makes for uninteresting fights towards the end, but I say in the final area, you might as well simplify the encounters in terms of strategy. So close to the climax, it assists in making the experience for the players who may just need a few more levels less tedious, especially since they're also past the point of being able to purchase any more items. Not ideal for every game, obviously, but it works for what EarthBound's doing. The cave itself is straightforward, with most of the time here spent traveling north. Visually, this works quite well with this part of the story. It's almost as if the player in front of the screen is leading the final charge directly towards Giygas, and this blocking even makes a lot of sense as the player has acted as the party's tactician throughout the whole story. Along the way are several types of enemies. Returning are the ghosts of Starmen from Dark.net, who pose the most challenge due to their continued use of Starstorm as their opening attack. The rest of the enemies are recolors of previous ones, such as the Ultimate Octobot and the Nuclear Reactor Robot, which act the same as their weaker counterparts. Speaking of Starstorm though, here I'd like to address the poor timing of Starstorm Omega being introduced into the Prince's moveset just before arriving in the past. It's a move that can be downright deadly to use here, for the party. Enemies have shields, it takes a lot of PSI to use, and no foe's HP here exceeds 2000. It's just unfortunately pretty antiquated. The reactor robots are an especially good choice for this final section though, as the prince can still use his mirror ability just like before to randomly heal the party as they make their trek. Additionally, there are the squatter demons, who are stronger versions of the boogie tent from all the way back in Threed. They've been promoted to outright deadly, however, with the ability to diamondize the party. It makes the whole sequence that much more disturbing, as the only ways the player can see the party on the overworld are when they're robots, no longer humans, or no longer alive. Although I don't feel its battle theme overly matches the tone for this section. The Wild and Woolly Shambler also specializes in casting status ailments, and the final Starman who has both levels of Starstorm as well as the ability to revive fallen cohorts. They often team up with the Ghost of Starman enemy, which makes for a very deadly combination and is probably the most frustrating to deal with. All of these enemies are perfect for this area, as they're all higher ranking soldiers of Giygas' militia, conveying it as not only a lair but as a true base of operations. The final enemy of this area is the Bionic Kraken, which also follows the roboticized motif of the others. This enemy is a bit rarer, and is the target for the final 1 in 128 weapon drop, the Gutsy Bat. This is the protagonist's ultimate weapon, raising his guts stat drastically, making him virtually impossible to deal mortal damage to, and practically always get smash hits. It is comedically close to the end and is not worth it in the slightest. Not much else to say about these, as I've made my feelings on them clear before. If any of these were just trophies, it's this one, as fun as it is to use. And it's extra superfluous, as the player is given the legendary bat here in a present, which, beyond being put on the direct path, also lends extra attention to itself by its contrast to the surroundings. It is a shame the player is unable to throw away the Magican Bat though, as it's an item slot they just can't use now. Not that there are many to collect here anyway, as the item drop rates are all very low. Perhaps it might be a way of preventing a soft lock or something, to ensure the player has a weapon for this area. Further along, the player transports to each area via strange spheres at the ends of each path, just adding to the otherworldliness of the location with the alien technology. The enemies can be difficult to deal with here when they attack in droves, which may force the player to retreat backwards or even get a game over, ending up back at the phase distorter. Mr. Saturn, representing innocence, makes taking solace in him feel that much more thematically appropriate. He's also the same shade of gray as the party, making him literally appear as on your side. In this area is the final respawning magic butterfly. Its color contrast will draw the player's eye, but also just acts as a glowing beacon of hope. A nice bit of environmental storytelling, showing even in the most difficult of situations or desperate of places, there's always even just a little bit of hope to still hang on to. Just a little further and the player finally arrives at the entrance to Giygas' chambers. It has a strange pattern at the bottom of the passageway, both giving it depth and mystery. Everything seen of this setting has been very surreal, so there's a sense of tension in arriving here, the player now bracing themselves to finally confront the main antagonist. Its triangular shape also conveys strength and other powerful connotations, the sharp edges having a sinister look to them, but the bottom ones sort of taper off, dissolving into the ground, giving it a very strange look. Almost like the entrance to a tent, the way into the disturbing circus they're about to enter. It also could resemble a curtain, shielding a medical procedure. Inside, the floor is composed of a fleshy, pulsating material resembling entrails, intestines. The walk up is very long as the scene continues to build suspense. The music, or what there was approximating it, is now even more distant, sounding more like something struggling to breathe. It evokes an even deeper desire for the player to know what it is they're actually moving the party through. In this short section, there is actually some extremely subtle foreshadowing. The party's footsteps actually reveal that these are not actually intestines, but only resemble them, with the sounds of clanging metal continuing as they traverse this hall. It actually becomes apparent that these are seemingly pipes, acting as parts to some sort of machine. While it may have just been a coincidence, the fact that this sequence is the only instance in the entire game of such a detail even being drawn attention to, I think there's at least some reason to believe this was intentional. This walk forward is tense, as the player truly gets a sense of isolation from the rest of the world. The player eventually comes to a part in the hall where it opens into some sort of room. The pipes are revealed to all be connected to a sphere in the center, pumping some sort of organic matter into it. Some major disturbance happens, and the capsule that resembles an eye in the center of the machine opens, revealing the face of the protagonist himself. Suddenly, Pokey appears from nowhere and descends. Are you surprised? It's me, Pokey. I assist only the strong and able. That's Pokey. You guys look pathetic. The Apple of Enlightenment has already made a prediction. But I won't let what the Apple of Enlightenment predicted take place. You guys will be beaten by Giygas. Giygas will be stronger, a more powerful entity than any other. Why? 'Cause of me. I was led by Giygas, and now I'm here. The Apple of Enlightenment couldn't predict this. Master Giygas. No, Giygas is no longer the wielder of evil. He has become the embodiment of evil itself, which he cannot control on his own. He is the evil power. He mentions the Apple of Enlightenment again, saying it made a prediction. The Apple of Enlightenment seems to be some sort of supernatural device or being that speaks in prophecy. It's not a coincidence its name is clearly playing on the archetypal imagery of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, particularly the colloquial interpretation of that fruit being an apple. This is most of what we can draw though. Much like this tree and the tree of life are alluded to in the Bible, it's elusive and revelation-like, with the uncertainty of where the line between the literal, metaphorical, and symbolic is drawn. Pokey's words here echo traits that have been seen throughout the entire story. While desiring power and a semblance of control greatly, even when such is bestowed on him by something much, much larger than himself, he can't help but always make the focus about him. He even says he will prevent what is prophecy from happening, truly demonstrating his incredible arrogance, and adjacently, Giygas's, who's exerting great influence over him. The apple, from the context, is clearly not speaking in guesses, it's speaking in certainties. That certainty being, good will triumph. While it's elusive and hard to parse, there is clearly good and evil, and has been shown repeatedly. The oppressors don't win, and are shaken by even just courage to approach them in strength. It shows just how childish Pokey is, despite having gone on a journey of his own just as the protagonist has. In contrast to him though, the protagonist, who has matured and has continued to do all he can to put his selfish desires aside, Pokey has stayed the same. This is a story about growing up, not when you're ready or want to. It's about growing up when it's demanded of you. Diametrically opposed, the climax begins the only possible way it could, by finally facing off against him. The battle begins and the music starts. The theme starts out as something resembling a classical RPG theme, akin to something on the NES. It will engage the player by just how different it sounds from everything else in the game. Then, it becomes a hard rock sound, harkening back to the many classic rock and roll samples throughout the whole adventure, to intimidate the player and get them pumped to destroy evil. How fast the song moves just gets the blood flowing and the player's heart racing. The battle background is made of pieces of the environment itself. While others were usually pretty disconnected from the world, but with a more thematic tie to it, Giygas imposes himself across the whole battle screen, showing he's in control here. He's transcending. He is the background, albeit from some sort of machine. So, what is it? This is the Devil's Machine, specifically made to contain Giygas's power and stabilize his mind. The flashing red and blue evoke a sense of both power and urgency to the situation, almost like he's pulsing, about to break out. But why does it have the protagonist's face on it? Happy to answer, but in the heat of this intense moment, it only feels appropriate to make things about Pokey. Pokey is now sporting a spider mech, presumably a device Giygas bestowed on him to travel back to the past, after the phase distorter he stole was destroyed. It's also possible Giygas just teleported him to the past, but it is shown to literally appear out of thin air, so this seems very possible. There are some other elements of interest regarding his appearance though. He is blue. This decision works on at least 3 different levels. It works in a kind of classic monster movie sort of way, like its sinister lighting. It also shows, just as Dr. Andonut had said, organic matter cannot travel via the phase distorter without experiencing adverse effects, and it's also possible the one Giygas gave him also contributed to this complexion. He may not be literally blue-skinned, but it can also be reflected as the effects on his mind. Thirdly, it works thematically, with everything else the game has connected it to story-wise. Which brings me back to Giygas, who dons the protagonist's own face. Notice the discoloration. While it has a purplish look to it, it's clearly a blue overlay on the sprite's existing colors. It makes him appear sickly. Giygas, in addition to being the antagonist, is a reflection of the protagonist. a symbol of all of the evil, immoral things he's done, and shows the path of destruction it leads to: hurt, isolation, and deterioration. The color theory of this battle is very intentional. It's primarily composed of red, blue, and purple. Red, in effect, has great symbolic ties to the main character, who's been characterized by his red cap for much of the journey. It's also the only identifiable thing left of him. While some may find it cute or funny, it's also heartbreaking, seeing him reduced to it. The blue, as said before, is tied to much of the evil of the world, and purple is what happens when you combine them. The protagonist, as a symbol, is everyone, and when viewing him that way, shows his battle is really about him. All of us. It can't get much more symbolic than him literally fighting himself. The fight itself is based on focusing on Pokey, as Giygas will reflect any attacks back at the party, doing double damage, as opposed to the half usually reflected by shields. So, while the greater themes are about the battle against the self, and furthers the elements of his battle within his mind, this is a literal fight against Pokey, as prefaced by his confrontation. It's a big fight with a lot of moving parts under its hood. Pokey focuses on dealing high damage attacks while debuffing the party's attack, as the game attempts to push the player into engaging with those mechanics. Meanwhile, Giygas will use multiple levels of the protagonist's favorite thing PSI, much like his nightmare, again incredibly relevant. He's contorting and twisting something that's meant to be good into something evil, perverting it. On top of this, not all shields the party uses are effective, as the beta and omega levels will cause them to reflect back at Giygas, whose own shield will then bounce it back at the party. And PSI shields don't work at all. Once Pokey's HP is depleted, he taunts the party. I understand you guys are already claiming to be heroes. Well, it's a gazillion years too early for you to oppose Giygas. You must feel pretty stupid to keep fighting without even knowing what Giygas looks like. If you were to ever see Giygas, you'd be so petrified with fear, you'd never be able to run away. That's how scary it is. So, do you want me to turn off the devil's machine? Well, prepare to be amazed. So, isn't this terrifying? I'm terrified too. Giygas cannot think rationally anymore, and he isn't even aware of what he's doing now. His own mind was destroyed by his incredible power. What an almighty idiot. Yep, that's what he is. And you will be just another meal to him. With the machine turned off, all around is absorbed and distorted, as Giygas is revealed to be like a phantom, a demon, a god, and clearly hurting. And Pokey's words about them becoming just another meal to him ring true, as with this vortex swirling design, open mouth, and teeth, they evoke a schema of a predator, ready to devour, to consume its prey. His true form is reminiscent of the Lovecraftian, almost appearing as if he is the cosmos, like some sort of demented galaxy, with his pain and hurt at the center of it all. His red color parallels the defining trait of the protagonist's appearance, drawing a comparison, and how the two, despite being worlds apart, share a common episode in their lives, one of pain. The protagonist has experienced separation, betrayal, assault, and fear. Yet he continues to get back up. He continues to want to help those who need it, and does so even when it costs him everything. Giygas, however, whatever pain he's experienced, he's chosen a path to destroy, and attempting to fool himself into believing he'll finally have control. This phase of the fight is very simple. Giygas will use several unidentifiable elemental attacks and status-inflicting PSI. It's pure survival. He shows within this world the reality he controls. He is a god. Yet, he aches. You must be really at the end of your rope. In this bizarre dimension, you four are the only force fighting for justice. And here you stand, waiting to be burned up with all the rest of the garbage of this universe. That's so sad. I can't help but shed a tear. You know, my heart's beating really fast. I must be experiencing absolute terror. Do you want to scream for help here in the dark? Why not call your mommy? Say, "Mommy, Daddy, I'm so frightened. I think I'm gonna wet my pants." I know you have telepathy, or something, so just try and call for help. You pathetically weak heroes of so-called justice. Now no one will help you. Don't worry. Your pitiful suffering will be over soon. As his psyche splits, so does he. He's losing stability. The party can attack, but to no clear feedback. Giygas' pain only seems to intensify, in deep denial of the Apple of Enlightenment's prediction, and what's happening right before him. Strangely, much like Pokey, who mocked them to call out for help. For once, maybe it's time to listen to him. Please give us strength. If it is possible, please, somebody, help us. The Mr. Saturns feel, for the first time, the urge to pray, and do so for their safety. The innocence of their minds, a childlike love. Please, give us strength. Anyone who can hear our plea, help us. The Runaway Five pray for their safety, who they saved from exploitation multiple times. A love for their loyalty. Please, give us strength. Speed this prayer to all the people of the earth. Her parents and the kids of Polestar Preschool pray for their safety. A love for their kindness. Please give us strength. Anyone who can hear our plea, help us. Tony and the students of the boarding school pray for their safety. A love for someone very special to him. Please grant us power. Anyone who can hear our plea, help us. One of the prince's subjects had a dream that he died. She and the others pray intensely for him and his friends, a love for their good leader. Please grant us strength. Anyone who can hear our plea. We ask for this. Frank, in Onan, recalls his shining young face and prays for him and his friends, a love for his altruism. Please grant us power. Send this prayer to all the people of the earth. A love for family. Giygas becomes even less stable. The pattern his deterioration forms creates several shapes of what appears to be a baby's head, almost like an ultrasound. He's regressing. He flashes yellow and white, and contorts and distorts, like a mind-splittingly horrible headache. The heroes, in pursuit to stop Giygas, gave up their innocence, suffered great abuse, carried the weight of the world on their shoulders, and finally, gave up everything, even their own bodies, for non-heroic, prosaic scrap metal. Some may say doing so is stupid and thankless. I say it's love. And love is sacrifice. I can't think of anyone else. Someone, anyone, please help us. well, it's going to seem like I'm running away, but perhaps I'll just sneak away to another era to think about my next plan. It's a good bet that we will see each other again. Alright, I'll be seeing you. So now which one of us do you think is the cool guy? As the music swells, the war against Giygas that consumed us from the beginning ends.